Sherrod's going to lead. Table topics is an opportunity for us to share impromptu responses to questions that Sherrod gets to create. Then we're going to do educational presentation, and Maya's going to be doing that. And we'll do a round robin of what we notice. And so then we'll do our icebreaker speeches following that. And so Therese, Rachel, Sherrod, and Evelyn, in that order, will give your speeches. Rachel, you may be first if Therese doesn't join today. And just know that I'm going to give another 3 hours. So now I'm going to model what it looks like to see the green, yellow, and red. So what happens is my background will change to green when you can stop speaking, okay? It'll change to yellow when you're at the 4-minute mark, and it'll change to red when you're at the 5-minute mark and you've exceeded 5 minutes of giving your icebreaker speech. Give me a thumbs up if you can see that. Everyone see that? Give me a thumbs up. You see the colors green, yellow, and red. Good, good, good. Okay. So the next thing on the agenda is we will give round robin evaluations in the chat. And so in the chat, it'll say something like, if you can, and you don't have to use these prompts, but I'm giving it to you as an option. You excelled at, and you can finish the sentence. You may want to work on, and you can finish a sentence, or to challenge yourself, and you finish the sentence, and you would write that in the chat box. So everyone, just take a minute to find the chat box and tell me hello, and tell me what did you, what were you doing immediately before the meeting? So immediately before the meeting, what were you doing? And I'm going to answer also. Ooh, I was on the beach, David. I want to be on the beach with you. Yes. Yeah, see, that's the answer I'm looking for. Okay. So let me just finish reading the agenda. I apologize. I get too excited here. We'll do an educational presentation, and I'm going to talk about your speech, basically. I'm going to set you up for how to have success in the next session. And we'll discuss some of the icebreaker speeches. We'll also review like some of the great things Maya did and how she will model some of the things that we want to do as better speakers. We'll follow with a general evaluation led by Evelyn. And today we're going to capture our best speakers. And you'll be able to have a banner similar to the banner that I am using. And it will actually say Toastmasters. Actually, I'm not going to share it to you just yet. Let's keep that a surprise. Hold on a second here. But I will have a virtual banner for each of the winners to display to recognize them for being the winner of best speaker, best evaluator, and best table topics. Okay, answer. So do we have any questions? Go ahead and drop them in the chat or come off mute. Do we have any questions? Yes, shoot for it, Rachel. Evelyn, excuse me, shoot, go ahead, Evelyn. Unmute on the other side.
Okay, do I have between 5 and 7 minutes, Maurice, for mine? Just to, okay.
Yes, and thank you for clarifying. So just so everyone know, Evelyn is doing a icebreaker speech from a different path. And so she is her speech will be a little bit longer, but it'll be the same timing of, I'll do green at 5, yellow at 6, and red at 7. Is that okay? That's okay. That's good for you, Evelyn? You got okay? So 5, 6, and 7. Perfect. And everyone else will be 3, 4, and 5. Perfect. All right. So with that being said, I turn the virtual stage over to our table topics master, Sherrod, with a bunch of happy hands clapping.
Hi. Thank you very much, everybody, and thank you, Maurice, for giving me the opportunity to, start this session. So I believe with this, I'll have to give a small speech, right? Yeah, before I move on to giving topics for different team members, right? First, I will have to give the 5-minute speech.
Well, no. What you're going to do right now is just table topics. So all you do is you can pick on a person, and then you would tell them the question.
Oh, okay.
You tell them the question a second time. So you want to make sure you tell the question 2 times so people can understand what the question is. But pick on a person first.
Okay.
Anyone.
I will pick David. David, yes. So Mike, I have a very quick question. Like, somebody asked me this question a long time ago. And whenever I'm thinking about something, I think about that question, right? And it has so many different answers for different people. It's a very unique question. What I would like to ask you is, if you have all the time in the world, right? And let's say what are you going to do for, let's say, on a Friday evening, if you have all the time and money to spend? What will be your best experience that you'll do for yourself? Like, how will you spend 3 hours of the time on a Friday evening if you have the time and the money and the resources needed?
So if I had the time, the money, and the resources needed for a Friday, on a Friday or a Friday afternoon,
yes, evening, yeah,
I would spend that time just relaxing and enjoying nature. First of all, I'd like to perhaps go into a very scenic environment where there's peace and where there's tranquility. I would use that opportunity to bond and to connect with nature, to hear the birds, look at the bees, look at insects, just look at nature, look at trees, hear the sound of the leaves rustling in the wind, to hear water. If hopefully there's a stream nearby or a creek nearby, I'd like to hear the sound of water flowing through sort of the tributary, hear the sound of water falling from leaves and leaves falling on the ground. I'd like to see the rising of the sun or the setting of the sun if it's evening. I'd like to see the clouds and their beauty. I'd like to see the birds expanding their wings and fluttering through the sky. I'd just like to hear that peace and quiet of nature. And I would just love to enjoy that serene, beautiful environment. I'm not sure how long yellow. I'm good. Thank you.
yeah.
Yes. Maurice, I don't think we can hear you. You're on mute. You're on mute, so you'd have to repeat.
Thank you, David. Yes. So
Yes.
I was going to say thank you, David. That's great, actually.
Yes. Yes.
Sarah, thank you for joining. And so what we're doing right now is table topics. And David, you may remember last week we timed these.
Yes.
So the green is 1 minute, of course, and so you'll stop at 1 minute.
Yes.
And the yellow is I'm doing the yellow at 1 minute 15, and
Okay.
the red at a minute and a half, 90 seconds.
Yes, I saw the yellow.
Yes, exactly. You want to be between that green and before the red. Yes. Exactly.
Okay, good. Okay.
You're
Thank
perfect. Okay. Sorry to interrupt, Gerard. Go ahead.
Okay. So now I have to give the same topic to somebody else, right?
Yes, you choose someone else, and then you can give it the same, or you can give a different question.
Okay.
And by all means, guys, there's no commitment to answering that question. If you want, you can go ahead and fill in with other things as well.
Okay. So my next question will be to Ms. Samuel Hopina. So yes, either you can take the same question I gave David, or have another question actually, if you prefer to answer that. I just briefly tell about your journey so far and where you want to go in life from where you are.
Hi, this is Hopina. My journey, I journey from the West Indies for a better life, as many other West Indians did. And it is quite interesting. It's quite a journey. From time to time, I'd reflect on the past of what I missed at home, but then I'm enjoying a wonderful experience here in the United States. I have an opportunity to make new friends. I have an opportunity to expand my education, to accomplish my goal much easier, to make more money, of course, and enjoy some of the niceties for cheaper than it was in the West Indies. I would encourage anyone to take a try at traveling out abroad and not staying in one place stagnant, because there's great opportunities when you travel abroad that looks easier when you're here, but when you're there, it looks so far-fetched. And I encourage anyone to join us on this journey. That's it. Did I make my time? Did I go over? I'm done.
No, you're good. Yeah, you're green. Yeah, thank you.
Exactly 1 minute, yes.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Sherrod, but let's do one more.
Hi, next, I would like to ask Ms. Dressler, Evelyn. So either, yeah, you can choose one of those two questions, or the third one will be like, is there any proud moment in your life so far that you want to share with the group?
I guess I will answer the proud moment. I felt very proud when I retired in January of 2020 at my retirement farewell party, where I received a commendation from the comptroller, and was greeted by many friends. I had a chance to reflect at that moment over my work accomplishments for the last 34 years. And at that luncheon, I felt very proud. I often am very hard on myself, so it's kind of rare for me to just take a deep breath and feel like, proud of myself for an accomplishment. I believe that was the last thing, and probably the most significant event or proud feeling I had. Oddly enough, you're going to hear later on in the hour as an icebreaker about it's called My Strange Start to Retirement. That is the title of my icebreaker. But I wanted to address a different question than the others, answering the table topics. So that is my answer. Thank you.
Great.
So I'm going to take it back, Sherrod. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for doing that. Is there a volunteer for next week's table topics to be table topic master? Who will step up? Yay, Evelyn, thank you. All right, excellent.
Do you mean do you mean in 2 weeks?
Yes, in 2 weeks, thank you. Yes.
Okay, because I can't do this in a week. Everything takes me 2 weeks to get in the mode, and then the last week is sort of like, oh no, what did I do?
Yes, 2 weeks, thank you. So you'll be table topics master. Let's turn it over to Maya. So Maya is a established and well-known speaker in Toastmasters. She's done a lot and she's been around. And so Maya and I both are area directors for a district. And so I invited her to come and speak to us about her Toastmasters experience and how this has helped her and what she might have as words of wisdom to share with you guys. So Maya, I'm going to ping you. Take it away. Do you want me to time you, or it's up to you?
Please time it. And I'm timing myself too. So please
Sure.
time me, and I'm timing myself. So
5, 6, and 7 is good.
Yeah, 3, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, yes. I did say it. 3, 4, and 5. Excellent. Will do. And I'm going to pin you. This way, everyone can get the real feeling of what this is like. Go for it.
Thank you so much, fellow AD Maurice, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to be speaking to you about the thing that's exciting and why we're all here, thanks to Maurice, for Speechcraft. Toastmasters International, I can't say enough good about it and how it has impacted my life and how it's continuing to impact my life. The main key word I want to say of Toastmasters, the great skill that you can develop from this, and it's just an easy concept to understand. You may think, oh, I can master this in a matter of minutes or seconds, but rather it's a tough concept. This concept, of course, is confidence. The amount of confidence that you'll get at the end of this Toastmasters education by just simply giving a speech. Confidence is where I'll begin and where my journey is still going in getting to Toastmasters. Stepping into my first Toastmasters meeting in person, I surely didn't know who I was or what I was, and it was through seeing someone else that I mustered up the courage to speak and to take on various area and club roles. Of course, the highest being what Maurice and I are as area directors. But having the confidence to lead and to speak are ones that you'll find within this Toastmasters education, and that I'm so excited to always speak about. I want to speak about the wonderful program that is Toastmasters and how just assuming roles at clubs gives you that confidence to excel professionally or even personally. As I found my reason for going further in my own career path, in my own aspiration, just by giving that simple speech. It's not the words or the content itself of that speech that you'll give, but it's really what you get at the end of it, the confidence to go on again and speak and to deliver those many speeches that we'll be speaking about. And so learning about the pathway system, before it was paper system, now it's all computerized, such as the Speechcraft program. So I just want to end really by saying, and I can't say it enough, it may sound silly, you just deliver speech after speech after speech, but the real world experience and the confidence that you'll gain professionally and personally, it's Toastmasters and why I'm here. And that's how Maurice is bringing this wonderful program to us. And you all are very lucky to be under his leadership and guidance in this program. So I encourage you as fellow Toastmasters, I hope to see you on the world stage as well as great speakers and leaders. Thank you so much, Maurice.
Thank you, Maya. And of course, you were at 4 minutes, and I missed the green, so I was going to show it at the yellow, but you had just made it. So great. Thank you so much, Maya. So Maya did an excellent job, and I want to go ahead and invite everyone to give Maya complimentary remarks about what she shared with you and what your takeaway was, how to make you feel. Go ahead and let's take a minute to do that now.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Maya for taking time out to share her experiences. I think, her message there resonated strongly with me in terms of it wasn't just about the professional value of Toastmasters, but also she spoke about sort of the personal upliftment and how it made a substantial difference in terms of confidence. And confidence is something that transcends your personal life, not just your professional life. So thank you for that.
Maurice, you are muted.
I just hate that mute button. Someone else should go, please.
Thank you so much, Maya. Your insight and your experience, came through while you were speaking. So thank you so much for, sharing your time with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Job well done. I hear you doing the small talks over and over that helps you to build confidence. That was indeed an eye-opener. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yes, Maya, this is
Thank you,
Rachel.
Maya.
Same thing from my end as well. The confidence was so evident in your speech from the beginning to the end. It made me confident as well. Thank you.
So normally in a Toastmasters meeting, we might put those type of things in a chat, but because we're practicing impromptu speaking, Maya, I wanted to give you the chance to hear them first and foremost now. We're going to transition to our actual beginner speeches. Go ahead, Maya.
I'm sorry, I think Evelyn was speaking.
Oh,
And then-
I think, thank you, Maya. I spoke out of turn. I wanted to thank you, and I feel exactly the same way. You gain confidence, and sometimes it's hard to put in words what you gain in an environment like this. There are no words, but you know, I forgot if it was Shareed, the term uplifting. When you leave the meeting, when we leave, or when I leave at 2 o'clock, you feel uplifted, and somehow this transcends into your afternoon or your evening. It's confidence, but you know, in my mind, it's actually more than that.
Thank you, and I'm so sorry, Marie, to
No,
speak.
thank you for helping me, making sure I notice. All right, so let's go ahead and turn over to our first speaker. Our first speaker is going to be Rachel. And Rachel, you'll have a chance to go ahead and you'll see a backstopper, or my background will change at 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and 5 minutes. And you want to be, you want to stop after the green and before the red. Okay?
All right.
All right. I am going to pin you so everyone can see you greatly, and you're welcome to begin.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Maurice, for the time and introduction. I would like to tell you a little bit about myself in the next 3 minutes. I am a nurse from India, and I have 3 full-time jobs and a part-time job. A registered nurse for 32 years, wife for 31 years, mother for 30 years, and a grandmother for 2.5 years. Although the RN job is the only paid job, I enjoy all of them. My family migrated to US in 2004 as the government was recruiting foreign nurses to bridge the gap of staffing shortage in US. I started my career in US as a registered nurse in nursing home, and I struggled there as my background was critical care. I negotiated with the agency who recruited me, and they got me a nursing position in emergency room. Then I transitioned back to my ICU nursing job. In the meantime, I was also enrolled in a graduate program, and I completed my master's in 2011. I was also promoted the same year as a nursing supervisor. I started at Queen's Hospital Nursing Education Department as an informatics nurse in 2013, and I'm still working there as an informatics nurse specialist. Sometimes I get questions like, what are your major challenges in your current role? Like many other leaders, I also wear multiple hats in my current role. Time constraints is my biggest challenge. I hardly have time to socialize with friends or colleagues while at work, as there are many tasks to accomplish within a short period of time. I cannot compromise my nursing job as I am paid for what I do. So I compromise in my unpaid jobs. I have to work extra hours to accomplish my tasks. And I'm careful to deliver a near perfect product every time. It is easy not to make a mistake than struggle to correct an error already made. For example, I have to request security access to nursing students and faculty as a part of my clinical placement coordinator role. If I make a mistake in the request, students and faculty can have spelling errors or other errors in their profile. Correcting those mistakes are not easy. I'll have to input multiple requests and wait multiple days to correct those mistakes, as a database correction requires additional scrutiny. Therefore, it is better to spend time in preparing a request than spending time to correct an error in requesting. Although my RN work mainly is on a computer, I am also a good cook. The taste of the food I cook is evident and the additional weight each of my family members carry in their body. I get a good part of the blame, as they say, the food I cook is difficult to resist. I'm not sure if it is a complaint or a compliment. Although I enjoy my current job, I miss being at the bedside and taking care of patients and speaking to their families. My current job is not as satisfying as my previous job. I would like to conclude my speech with one of my bedside experience. Once, I was taking care of a patient in the ICU. He was alert and oriented, but was unable to move his legs or arms as they were swollen and heavier. When I finished taking care of him one morning, he told me, "You're not my mother, you're not my wife, but who are you? Are you Mother Mary?" I smiled and said to him, "I'm your nurse." Only a person who has been in a sick bed knows what a nurse is. I have enjoyed being a nurse at the bedside, and I'm still a nurse. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you. Sharad, we're going to go transition to Sharad and go ahead. And are you ready?
Yeah, I'm
Go
ready.
for it. All right.
Okay. So yeah, I would like to introduce. Thank you very much for the opportunity for speaking up in front of this group. And yeah, my title for my introduction will be the journey so far, right? So yeah, my journey started long time ago, right? Actually 50 years ago. I'm 50 years old, so I was born in India, Delhi, and growing up, I had only two choices, right? I was born in a middle class family in India, in the capital of India, Delhi, right? And there were only two choices for people who were studying. If you're a boy, you're supposed to become an engineer. If you're a girl, you don't, the other choice is doctor or nurse or in the healthcare field. So luckily enough, I studied hard and became an engineer, right? At that time when I was growing up, like
Sharad is on mute. Sharad, you're on mute. Can't hear you.
oh,
Okay.
so
Yes.
far you were not able to hear at all?
No.
Yeah.
There was a technical error someplace. Go ahead and
Okay.
start
Just a few
from the beginning
seconds.
if that's okay. I if we can.
Okay, yeah. So growing up, like my title was my journey so far, right, in my life. So basically, like, yeah, I migrated to US in 2003, and as a skilled labor, there's a program in US where they let people from other countries who are highly skilled in the technical fields come as a skilled workers. So I came on a H-1B visa as a computer engineer, and from last 18 years, I've been working in different positions, different companies, and just so far, I think I'm growing. Started as a computer engineer. Now I'm a computer service manager and working for City of New York. And it's been a nice upward journey, and I'm very proud to be a citizen of USA now. And yeah, so I'm currently a project manager working for police department, and basically it's focused on IT field, right? Information technology. And yeah, so as I was growing up, I had only two choices. Luckily, I took the choice of being an engineer. And so far, yeah, I'm doing great. I'm still studying also in my field now. My field is changed from technical background to project management. So it's a new field for me. All my technical knowledge is in the past. Now I'm taking program management. So what I did is did my project management professional last month. So now I'm a certified PMP. And in order to grow more in a professional and my life, I see that each and every leadership position, right? There's one common thing among all the leaders, that they can speak very fluently, that they can impress people, even if you have a lot of experience and lot of knowledge, but unless you can express those thoughts in a clear way, people won't follow you and they won't take your word for it. So that's the one thing I would like to get from this particular sessions, right? And I'm so happy to be here with you guys. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent, excellent work. That was a good idea. Okay. So Evelyn, Therese, thanks for joining. Evelyn's going to give her icebreaker speech. Evelyn, it's 5 to 7 minutes. I'm going to pin you and you may start when you're ready.
Thank you, Maurice. Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters. The title of my icebreaker is My Strange Start to Retirement. At my farewell party in January 2020, after my decision to retire after 35 years of city service, my colleagues and I laughed, celebrated, and spoke of how wonderful retirement would be. They said, no stress, no deadlines, no early morning alarms, no rushing for my pre-work 6 a.m. swim at my local YMCA. Fellow Toastmasters, my retirement felt nothing like this. I was terrified. It felt like I was mourning the death of a close loved one. Yes, I did swim at noon instead of 6 a.m. And guess what? I hated it. I missed the 6:30 a.m. YMCA crowd. And I kept looking at my phone, waiting for my boss to give me the go-ahead on a project or for learning which fire we would have to put out next. And I so missed the small talk with my colleagues on a Monday morning after a long weekend talking about what we did. A friend of mine told me and said, Evelyn, why don't you try a glass of wine with lunch? You have no meetings. I tried this and guess what? It didn't help. Guess I am not much of a drinker after all. And to boot, I felt way more stress than when I was working. Oh no, what did I do? After a few weeks of this nonsense, I bought a book. How to Retire Happy, Wild, and Free. Retirement wisdom that you won't get from your financial advisor. And guess what? It helped. It gave me new, fresh ideas. I would take up piano, painting, and volunteer at my local library. My retirement would be great after all. At the recommendation of the author, I prepared what is referred to as a get a life tree, listing all of my interests and activities I could possibly pursue. More about this at another time. By early March, I scheduled music lessons, volunteer activities, and travel. And guess what? The global pandemic hit. Everything was shut down after just 6 weeks of retirement. Oh no, I couldn't do anything. Everything was closed and I had nothing to do. I was so envious of my colleagues working from home. I had nothing, no work, no YMCA, no movies, nothing. And to make matters worse, my younger son, who was a first-year resident, called every day at 6 a.m. on his way to the hospital. He said, Mom, this is really bad. Don't even leave the house. Send Dad to the supermarket. And I was so worried for him. He would send pictures of himself in his N95 mask and other protective gear. I wasn't even able to see him for 5 months as he was directly on the front lines. Wow, my retirement was indeed strange. For me personally, having a tough time to transition to a global pandemic, holed up in my house 24/7 with my husband and older son. Finally, things started to improve. Although a lot of activities were still virtual, by the fall of 2020, my local YMCA opened up for me to swim and things started to get better. It has been a challenging 1.5 years for me on a personal level. Tomorrow, I am taking my first in-person piano lesson, and I can't wait. I hope to get to do all the activities in my Get a Life tree in the coming year. I don't know if I will excel at everything I try, but as we heard at last week's meeting from public speaker Michael Carr, the victory is not in the result. The victory is in the try. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow, that was amazing. Thank you. All right, so we had a chance to give people feedback earlier, Evelyn, and so we're going to take a minute just now, take a few seconds to give some feedback to Evelyn and using the chat. In the interest of time, I'm going to start moving forward, and I'm going to start sharing my screen so we can get ready for the presentation. Okay, here we go. If you haven't finished, you should continue. Go ahead and typing up your chat. I'm sharing my screen at this moment, and I'm going to take you through some things that you may or may not have already gone through. In Speechcraft, this is the link that I had shared with you guys via email. There is this application which will tell us all of the learning you need to do as part of the 6-week program. So I have already logged in. The login here is at the top right. I'm going to scroll down and click go. And while mine may look a little bit different than yours, it will open up something like learning. And of course, my session expired, so I'm going to go ahead and just do this again. When you go into learning, right, this is what your learning will look like. And you'll want to take a minute to do this before our next session if you haven't already started. What it looks like is this is the very beginning, and you can click begin your journey, and you'll see all of these different icons, which will lead to different videos and lead to different parts of what we're going to be doing. So for those like Sherrod and Rachel and Sarah, not Sarah, excuse me, folks had the opportunity to make sure they did the introduction, and the introduction opens up into another portal, and you start the project, and it has steps for you to take, right? In the first class, we looked at understanding the assessment, and we actually asked the questions to ourselves about what is it that it would take us to actually become better speakers. Here's the other aspect of this that I don't like. You can't go back to the you can't go back to the beginning. This is what you can expect in our meetings. There'll be an agenda ahead of time. I'll usually get it out by the Sunday before the Tuesday we meet. We'll start with table topics. We'll do evaluations, and then we'll do some type of support conversation like what we're doing now. The conversation now is going to move to, here we go, Speechcraft, how to present. So all of you at some point will present. And when you do that, you want to make sure you do it with some finesse. And that's really, really easy by using the tools that are available to you in resources. We're going to talk about this in 2 different ways. One is just this quick look of prepare, plan, structure, and practice. And so prepare would be watching the videos and deciding how are you going to go ahead and record your presentation. I know Evelyn and I had talked about her using index cards. And so that's one way. I think Rachel may have typed it on the computer. And so and individuals can, you have to choose what's best for you, and it may take some time to find it. So that's prepare. In planning, you want to go ahead and make sure you're telling a story. The best speakers are, what I find, are storytellers. And so you want to be able to tell a story that has a beginning, middle, and an end. Think about some of the things we watch in television and how there might even be a climax or where to inject humor. And so you'll want to make sure that each of your speeches come with a plan, followed by the structure. The structure is really about making sure the ending is on point and that the ending doesn't just land and leave us flat. Oftentimes, you may see individuals they change how they speak, and even just how I took a pause to even find my right word, right? That's called a pregnant pause. And so we want to figure out where's a good place to use that, where's places we're not, and then also what it means to have them. But when I talk about the conclusion, I want to say sometimes you may hear I'll use comedian for right now because that's my best thought, where he'll say some words in the very beginning, and then all the way after maybe a certain amount of time of telling another story, he then comes back and summarizes it, and it all comes back together in sync. That's the structure we're talking about here. And finally, practice, right? There are many methods, and so you need to do your own. When I was a test consultant, my practice was actually recording myself on Zoom and then playing it back to myself. But some people use the mirror. Some people go ahead and choose others to hear them and give them feedback. So there are many different ways to do it. Here, I want to talk about your speech is your personal choice. You choose how much information you're going to share with your audience, and you choose what's relevant to your audience. There was one time when I did a speech about New York City mayors, and I did it intentionally because as city employee, I have a relationship with mayors dating back to Ed Koch. Some of you do the same, right? And because of some of our positions, some of us have very interesting observations about senior management and commissioners, and the people that others see in the media that's completely vastly different. And so when I did my speech on my relationship to New York City mayors, I actually thought it was a great speech. And I have to tell you that the feedback I got from other city workers was that it was a great speech. It just wasn't for them, because they have their own relationships to those mayors that may or may not have been the same. So think about your audience and think about where the humor you intend and where it's going to land. I think one of the best feedbacks I got was the speech was great, just not for other city managers who then had like their own so much background mental things going on that they couldn't really hear the speech. And that was an indication. And it's true. I mean, sometimes we don't listen. And so my speech will hook a certain way, just like how it's hooking now with some of you. If you've heard this before, you're familiar with it, I'm sure it may be overkill, but it's something that is worth talking about, because a speech, and I'm now thinking about President Obama and Mike and some that we saw last week, and some of these more official type speeches, they have a structure. And I'm going to talk about the structure, and I'm not going to talk about the structure. I'm actually asking you to think about Maya and how she delivered her speech. And you can see how the structure, where it was, she had a message, right? And she went chronologically through that. She had it was topical in some parts. There was some spatial in terms of geography, in terms of, she didn't say where she's from, and she's actually not in New York. You wouldn't know that. But she's actually doing a lot of work that's helpful to us in the New York Toastmasters. And then comparative problem solving and solution, and particular, general, particular. So these are different types of structures within a speech that you may choose to use. And so some of the videos that we're going to look at throughout the course actually takes you through that. Are there questions about what I said so far? Great. So let's take a minute to look at what I wanted to talk about at the very beginning. And I shared with you guys that we would have a best table topics, right? Best speaker, and we're going to do those two only for the interest of time. So for table topics, it was David, Hopina, and Evelyn. If you can respond to Evelyn right now in the chat, take a minute to find the chat and say who you felt was the best between David, Hopina, and Evelyn. Put that in the chat. I'm going to ask for everyone to, you're responding to the table topics and who you felt was the best in table topics. And that was David, Hopina, and Evelyn. Then we're going to do the same thing for speech. And the speech was Rachel, Sherrod, and Evelyn. And if you're doing Evelyn twice, just make sure you know, say which one you're doing her for. This way she knows where to count it. So Evelyn, you may have a lot of tallying to do.
Right. Are they, is everyone specifying though what their, is this where I'm gonna tally, Maurice, from the chat?
Yeah. Can you? You know what? Why don't you start the evaluation?
Yeah,
and
if you don't mind, because I guess I can't see clearly who's for what. And
no, why don't you start the evaluation, and I can try to do the tally, and if anything, I'll announce it if we have to next week. And if you have to drop off at 2 o'clock, please go ahead and do so. I know that time is approaching, so I'll understand if you have to drop off. But go ahead and do the evaluation, Evelyn.
okay, so thank you, Maurice. I thought the meeting went very well from the start to the end. We went over a little bit, or it's exactly 2 o'clock. We're close to going over because of my technical, I can't think, snafu or issues, but thank you for bearing with me. But we should have come in exactly on time. The meeting had very good points of evaluations. Moving through the speeches and the evaluations, and then the training on how to give a speech that Maurice just took us through. Everyone in this small group participated in one or more of these areas. And overall, I thought it was very good. Does anyone else want to give their opinion very quickly for interest of time on how the meeting went?
Hi, excuse me, Hopina. I thought the meeting went very well. I wish we had more time because the presenters had me at my seat, because there are two people from the presenters who really identify with me. I'm a nurse, and then I'm following Evelyn's lead. I wanted to send me a copy of that book so I won't be confused when I get into retirement next few months from now. So overall, it's a learning process, and you build the confidence as you take small bites, small walks, small steps, and then you perfect them. And I'm really enjoying it. I wish we had more time. Thank you, presenters. Thank you so much, David. You're great in presenting. I can't wait to hear from you. Thank you, Maurice.
Thank you. Marty, you want to say some words before we end?
Thank you, everyone, for great speaking and great everything. Choosing who was well with both table topics and speakers were difficult because all of you did a wonderful job. So, and thank you for inviting me, Maurice. And
Thank
good luck
you.
to all of you too.
Thank you. So this is what Speechcraft looks like. Guys, we're going to go ahead and end. I'm going to ask again for David, Hopina,